There is no more peaceful, more joyous place in Germany than a Christmas market where people come together ahead of the Christmas festival to spend some time together, to drink mulled wine, to have a sausage together, to relax together. What a terrible attack this was that injured so many people, killed people. We have since found out that there are over 200 people who were injured by this attack, and 5 have died. Nearly 40 are so critically injured that we are very, very worried for them. And it is a terrible event, and it is one where all of our sympathies is with the families, the dependents, and also those who are injured. And we want to express our solidarity. I, as Chancellor, speak for everyone who bears responsibility in this country to express our sympathies. This cuts us to the quick. We must stand together, and we will stand together in the aftermath of this. It is good that the first responders were able to respond, as well as people who were at the Christmas market and were not injured, looked after those who were injured. It was amazing how fast the emergency services were there, people who came from all over to respond as quickly as they could. That was touching, and I was touched by the conversations that we had with the first responders, and I know that this will stay with them. When you experience an event like this as emergency services, you respond as quickly as you can. They were incredibly professional, and they prevented worse. At the same time, it is the case that we know that sooner or later, this is something that will impact on those who helped here. They too will be affected. And this is why across Germany, we will ask everyone who can offer professional support for those who are impacted on by this effect, whether directly or in terms of secondary trauma. We want to help the wounded, those who've been injured and are in hospital, and those who have lost their lives and their families, the innocent victims of a terrible, insane attack. What's important now is that we investigate what happened and carry out a proper, careful investigation. We must examine this from every angle, and we have promised on a national level, on a regional level, on a municipal level, we will all be working together, and we have to try to understand what the motive was of the attacker in order to respond with the full strength of the law, and we will. What's important for me is that when a terrible event like this occurs, such a terrible attack as happened yesterday, that has injured and killed so many people, almost 8 years after the attack on the Berlin Christmas market, that we as a country stick together and that hatred does not divide us, but that we join forces looking to the future together, and that we do not allow those who want to instigate hatred. At the same time, that we prosecute the perpetrator with the full strength of the law together in order to make it possible for us to work together for a common future. I have heard much expressing solidarity from many countries in the world. Many spoke to me personally or wrote to me personally to express this solidarity. They did it publicly as well, and it is good to feel that we are not left alone as Germans in the face of this terrible disaster. But once again, I want to say thank you to all of the first responders, the emergency services, volunteers who stopped things getting worse. My solidarity is with the victims and their families and the city of Magdeburg and everyone who is in the same deep mourning as we are.
Right, that was German Chancellor Olaf Scholz walking away there after addressing the people of Magdeburg. We also earlier heard from the State Premier, Rainer Haseloff. I mean, I have in the studio with me still Thomas Sparrow, our security and political correspondent. Thomas, we heard a lot said. We now know that it's not 4, but 5 people have been confirmed dead, over 200 people injured. According to the German Chancellor, nearly 40 critically injured. What more stood out for you?
Well, and that just shows the extent of what happened in Magdeburg, the importance of what happened in Magdeburg. And we heard from Mr. Haseloff, the regional leader, also stressing that the implication basically goes beyond Magdeburg, that there are national implications to this. The German Chancellor stressed that the focus now is on a careful, proper investigation to identify the motivation behind this attack. This is particularly relevant because it's once the investigation is carried out, once the motivation is known, will we know more about the political implications of this? Will we know more about what comes next? So that certainly stood out from the comments by the German Chancellor. It was also important, Eddie, that the German Chancellor went there to Magdeburg to show his solidarity, to express his solidarity in the place where this attack happened, a solidarity that is clearly not only expressed for people from Magdeburg, but for Germans as a whole. He specifically said that it was time for people in this country to stick together and not be divided by hate. That was also a second message that I think the German Chancellor really wanted to bring across in Magdeburg. So on the one hand, the investigation, on the other hand, solidarity, and this idea that he wants Germans, he wants the citizens of this country, he wants people living here, also immigrants, he wants everyone in this country to really be united and not be divided. That was something that he clearly stated.
Right, right. He also talked about, or congratulated, I should say, the emergency team for their swift response.